The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
And hello everyone and welcome to Scarefest Radio. The original broadcast date is June 14th, 2019. We're in the final few months before Scarefest 2019, Scarefest XII, Scarefest 12. Tonight, I do have a celebrity announcement. We're going to do that at the half-hour mark, so stay tuned if you want to get kind of the scoop on our celebrity. It's not a big surprise. I'll admit this one. This is one they've been talking about. They've been kind of slipping the name in and out of conversations. So not going to be a big surprise to anyone, but it is a fan favorite that we are happy to see coming back. And of course, my guest tonight is the Bishop James Long. And now, James, the way I always, when people ask me about you, the way I introduce you to people that don't know you is I tell them that two things. He looks at me every time we're in person and we speak. He looks at me like I have three heads. But in my conversations with you, there have only been maybe one, maybe two other people in the entire world that I feel like every conversation we've had, you have my best interest at heart. And I wanted to thank you for being such a swell guy.
I really appreciate that. That's really nice of you to say. Thank you for saying that.
And now we broke our curse. Do you realize, James? Now, James, I've been interviewing you for years. I think I had you on Paranormal Filler 2 or 3 times. I know you. I'm sure you were on the Paranormal Icon at some point. I didn't get you on the Viddy Space show, but do you realize I've actually 2 different times now you had to cancel because somebody passed away the night of the show and you had to do last rites. I was really getting kind of, like...
It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, but we broke the curse, so so everybody, we're safe tonight. Now, right away, what we want to talk about, the Bishop is going to be speaking again this year at the Scarefest. You speak, like every 2 or 3 years. You just, whenever you feel like it, is that what you kind of do?
I wish. I would like, every year I'd love to be there. I mean, I love Scarefest. I really, honest to God, it's a lot of fun, great people. It's just sometimes, the scheduling where if I'm working a case, I just can't. There's just no way. So I'm really busy. Ministry keeps me pretty swamped. And so I try to keep those dates clear, but, with ministry, you just never know. You never know.
Well, this year, now, the title of this year's presentation is a lecture on demonology and possession, and it's his experiences he has had as a validly trained exorcist. So, based on that, now I know sometimes you get into more of the, I don't want to say theological side of it because you're a priest. Everything you do is theological. But so this time you're actually going to speak more about some of the things that you've seen and not just so much on a per case basis.
Yeah, the thing is I have a master's of education, so teaching is kind of in my blood. And so sometimes I get into the lecture and this, I don't want to do a lecture this year. I want to actually talk about my personal thoughts, my personal experiences, what I have actually witnessed versus, okay, there are 3 stages of possession, infestation, oppression, and possession, and here, let's break those down. That's fine on the intellectual level if that's what you want to know. But I really want to get it on a more personal level. This is what I've seen on the 28 documented cases of possessions that I have worked. And so that's what I really want to get into, so that people can see from my perspective and not as an intellectual lecturing type on demonology and possession. I've done that before. I want to kind of move it on a personal level.
The thing that, and I guess it's the nature of the beast, and boy, that's a really bad choice of words for what we're talking about. I've spoke to you, and I've read your book, and I know that 90% of what you talk about is to try to discourage people from pursuing that action. That, in other words, getting involved in those types of cases when you're not qualified.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the problem is, so many people get so excited about you talking about this. I had one guy one time tell me, and this was one of your speeches that you did at Scarefest, and I remember you kind of gave me the pitch on it, and it was why not to be an exorcist. That was pretty much what it was about. And this guy was so excited. He said, I would so much like to go on an exorcism with him. And I said, no, you wouldn't. No, dude, no.
I don't, you know what? I understand that people have a fascination of the unknown. You know what I mean? I get that because I love all things paranormal. Even though I've always said demonology is not paranormal, it's theological. But for me, I love the unknown, and I get why people would want that. The problem is you're not going out and doing an investigation on Bigfoot. And if you hear the 3 knocks or you hear the whoops or, that's not what you're getting involved in. You're getting involved in something that's going to have a direct impact on your life. And that could be good, and it could be bad. It's direct, long-term impact. So, and not only on your life, but your entire family's life. And so this is not just, it's not an investigation. This is real serious stuff. And the consequences, I think people want to see. But the problem is once you jump in, like I've said this a million times, once you jump in a pool of sharks and there's no ladder, you can't jump out. You're stuck. You're in there whether you like it or not. And once you go into that realm, once you go right into that reality, and you are now aware of this demonic entity, and that demonic entity is now aware of you. Do you really, honest to God, want that type of connection? Unless you're an exorcist, I would say no.
Well, yeah, and I agree. Do you think part of it is because the D word gets tossed around so willy-nilly on TV nowadays? I've worked some dark cases. I'm not afraid to go in, but now before I go in any case, I pray and ask God and the angels if I'm actually ready for this, and so I don't feel like I ever go in unprepared. But even working these cases that are considered dark and nasty, I've never encountered anything that rises to that level. In other words, I'm still in the minor leagues, and I'm happy there. Don't get me wrong. But I see, I worked with someone, and every time we'd get the information on a case, she'd ask me, do you think it's a demon? And it wasn't, oh no, we can't take this on. It's the titillation factor, I ready for battle and all that. And it kind of, it worried me, every time that word came up in that context.
And is it because, unfortunately, a lot of media outlets, even shows, they've sensationalized it. And it's a good way to, it's like that, dangling a carrot, in front of somebody and say, oh, here it is, come get it. And it's just, I don't know, I really, honest to God, don't know what these people would do if they really did come across one. I mean, they so want to, so badly, and are so excited about it. Ooh, this is going to be exciting, and this is going to be fun. I'm thinking, fun?
Now, a related question, and this is personal opinion, although I can't think of anybody that I know that's more qualified to answer it. What is the likelihood of you just tripping over a demon in someone's basement?
Very rare. Very, very, very rare.
Because I see these posts and people will be posting about, I think there's a demon in my barn because I hear a growl or whatever, you know. And now this is my simple-minded understanding, I guess. But I've just always felt like they got things to do. In other words, if they're just sitting around spinning their wheels, not possessing people, for lack of a better word, I don't feel like your typical... Now, this is going to be a really hacked way of saying this. I don't feel like the typical demon would be living up to their potential, just hanging out in someone's barn.
No. They're not going to just hang out for no reason. They're there for a reason. There's an intent there. There's a purpose. They're not just there just to say, oh yeah, let's just go hang out in the barn because it's a cool barn. I mean, that's not, that's... There's a purpose. There's an intent, and the intent is not just to infest in a barn. It's obviously to harm. And
right.
And I think that there's a lot of people who, and what really sometimes does get under my skin is when every single case seems to be demonic. And I just want to just scream and say, that's not true. Stop it. Stop going on YouTube and stop saying, oh, we got a demonic case and this is a demonic case. It seems like paranormal teams, every case they get, it's demonic. It is not. It just simply is not. And it just, look, I've done this now for 20 years, and I'm telling you, I'll show you. In 20 years, here you go, 8,000 emails in 2 weeks. 8,963 emails. That's what I got.
Yeah, but, all right, now how many of those are porn invites, though?
0. Let me just make that very clear. I need to forward those on to you. I apologize. But 0. But I'm serious. There a lot of those emails are people, oh, I got a demon here. I got a demon here. I'm a paranormal investigator here for 2 weeks. And I get this all the time. And it's like, just stop. Just stop sensationalizing. Everything's not a demon. Let's kind of work through this. And some people are mistaken, and that's okay. But there are some people that are just, they're blood driven. They've got to have that demon, regardless. If there's a little knock, it's a demon. You can't tell them anything else. It's a demon. And they're not going to believe anything else,
Now, I do have a question from the chat room that I'll slip in here because it's contextual. What makes a person susceptible to actual demonic oppression, possession, etc.?
Yeah, one of the most important things that you have to understand, there has to be really usually there's some type of invitation. So if you go out, you're a paranormal investigator, and you go to a place that is allegedly demonic in nature. Look, I'm going to tell you something, and some people like when I say this, and some people don't. But I just tell you the way I think the truth is. And from my experience is when you walk into a place that's truly legitimately demonic, you can't say, I'm going to surround myself with white light, and it's going to be unprotected. I got white light. Demons ain't going to do nothing to me. I'm sorry, but demons don't play your games. You can protect yourself all day long with white light. And while that is a good thing you do, demonic entities don't say, oh, no, well, look out. That person has protected themselves with white light. We can't touch them. That's absolutely erroneous, because the minute that you step into that location, you have opened yourself up. You can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and say, I'm going to surround myself with white lights, and I'm going to walk in there, but I'm not opening myself up. Yes, you are. The fact that you freely chose to walk into a demonic presence, regardless if you've made yourself surrounded by white light or not, you are now susceptible to a demonic attack. And that is the way it goes. People get so angry when I say that to them, but I'm like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You walk into a place, you know there's a demonic entity that's present. I think I surround myself with white light every single day. But I also know that during an exorcism, I could die. I could have a heart attack. I could have a stroke. I can have, there's a whole variety of things that I know that could occur to me physically because I freely walk into a place that has a demonic infestation. And you've got to, that's the reality of it. You can't have it both ways. You just can't. So it drives me crazy when people say, I surround myself with white light and nothing's going to ever happen to me. That's ego. Yeah, the minute that you walk into that place, the bear is no longer caged. So while the bear is out looking for food, looking for something to devour, why don't you tell the bear, I'm in white light, you can't consume me, and let's see how far that goes.
And for the listeners who have heard my spiel about the way I go into investigations, I actually agree with him. In other words, I don't set myself up for this. And because when I talk about, because that's one thing I run into, James, is when I talk about dark cases, and if the angels decide to send me into a demonic case, then I have to assume that I'm ready, etc., etc. But at the same time, that little voice in the back of my head has listened to you all these years and said, okay, be careful. Everybody, we need to take our first commercial break. We'll be right back with more Scarefest Radio and the Bishop, James Long. Have you checked out the Mama Ruby's family of metaphysical and spiritual shows? The Mystical Fair in Lexington, Kentucky, Lexington's only monthly psychic and holistic healing arts fair. The Inner Light Festivals in Louisville in June and Lexington in November. And watch for Mama Ruby's Expo coming in 2020. Plus, Mama Ruby's Meta Lecture Series featuring interesting guests speaking on fascinating subjects. Start your journey now at mamarubies.com for more information.
Going to the Banana Splits.
Sometimes at night, I see the Splits riding around in their little cars, laughing and singing.
Who's excited to see the Banana Splits? Yeah!
Rebecca, I'm canceling the show.
What?
Hey, kids, put on your happiest faces because the Banana Split Show is about to begin.
Where are the children?
Mom, get out of here. Time's almost up. Why are you doing this to me? Please! Let me out! Now the show can go on forever and ever and ever.
Come on, you fuzzy son of a...
I just really want your brother's birthday to be perfect.
We're gonna have so much fun.
I included that little movie preview because that is the most effed up stuff I've ever seen. My childhood has been destroyed. I heard about that, and I just wanted to that is some sick stuff that's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD, and I'm sure everybody at Scarefest will watch it. I just want to say, that just messed me up big time. Question from the chat before we move on to the polls that you've been doing. They want to know what called you both into the priesthood and into this particular specialty, if you will.
Plain and simple, God. This was not a choice. This was absolutely not something that I sought. It was not something that I knew at 5 years old I wanted to be a priest. At 5 years old, I knew this. And at 9 years old, I began to study books on any books that I could on demonology. And I really didn't understand it fully. I knew that there was something opposite of God, but I didn't know I didn't know a whole lot about it, but it was like I was so drawn to it, and I could not put the books down. And I'm talking about the days where card catalogs, not computers and all this fancy stuff. Now, I mean, the old days where you had card catalogs, you'll look through those things, and I couldn't put the books down. And so that passion kind of grew more and more. And as I matured in my spirituality, then I kind of understood where this was leading. So it's a calling.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of good
stuff. What is give me your opinion. I'm going to rephrase the way they worded it. Because actually, what is your opinion on the current state of paranormal TV? That's the way I'm going to word it. Because it's kind of moved from the paranormal reality shows, which we've talked about before, but now we're into this whole recreation thing where, I'm sorry, I think the stories get fluffed up a bit. What's your opinion?
You know, it's tough because I've done a lot of paranormal shows, and I'll tell you this, and I've told people this, and I will take this to my grave. The shows that I have been on, I will absolutely vouch 100% for what was captured. The Ghost Adventures on Bobby Mackey's, I was present. I was there. I know exactly what happened. I don't get paid by Ghost Adventures. I don't get paid by Bobby Mackey's. And I don't work for any of them. So I'm not going to sit here and tell people, oh, yes, this is what I experienced, and fluff it up. I'm going to tell you exactly what I experienced. And if I experienced nothing, I'll tell you I experienced nothing. But I will tell you that time at Bobby Mackey's, when we were filming the 3rd episode, they shut it down. There were some things that we captured on EVP. I'm not mentioning it because they've not made it public. But there were some things that were so sensitive and violent that they shut it down. They could no longer film. It broke them down that badly. And so I know, because I captured on my own recorder, there were several that said kill the bishop. There were other things that said about my own personal life and my family. There were some pretty serious stuff there that I've not made public, nor would I ever, because I'm not going to give it any credence. But I will be airing a few things, a few sound bites from a couple exorcisms and investigations that I have done at Scarefest, and I think it's going to. You'll hear it.
Since you brought up Bobby Mackey's, now I want to. Why do you think that came together at that point? And the reason I ask is, now I believe your experience. Don't get me wrong, and I tell people the place is haunted, and there is some nasty stuff that goes in and out the doors. But 2 years ago at Halloween, they booked me and it was an Anglican priest, Anglican exorcist, to host their Halloween event. And we went in that place, and nobody even got a dust order. The place was, pardon the expression, dead. And it wasn't for lack of people. And of course, now nobody, but I guess that's kind of the point of my question. Nobody was stomping around, puffing their chest out, calling anything out. And, the type of people that they had hosting the event. So, do you think that do you have any idea why certain people, i.e. Ghost Adventures, for example, would draw that type of energy down on themselves?
Well, you're asked a frank question, so I'll give you a frank answer. I don't know this individual who, this Anglican exorcist.
Right. I don't remember his name, or I drop it. I just don't remember his name.
I will say this. I'm deeply concerned now that it seems like every clergy member is now an exorcist. When I started this 20 years ago, it was me and Father Andrew Calder. That's it. I know that for a fact. Because everybody was using Yahoo groups. MySpace and Facebook, all that stuff, that didn't exist. We were using Yahoo groups to communicate with everybody. And we were part of every single paranormal group or big, whatever they call it, out there at the time. And it was me and Father Andrew Calder. And now it just seems like there are so many people who say, well, I'm an exorcist today. And that concerns me. I'm really, really concerned with so many people claiming to be exorcists and have no training. Not only have no training, but have no insurance policy to do it. And so I'm concerned. But again, I don't know the Anglican priest, but I'm going to be very blunt with you. There are some people who play exorcists who have no idea what the hell they're doing. And because they don't know what they're doing, they have no idea how to properly provoke, to force an entity to manifest itself, because they haven't been trained. They've read things online, they've read things or watched things on YouTube, and now they call themselves an exorcist. Well, that's not an exorcist. That's a person who can regurgitate information. My 64-year-old friend, she can watch a YouTube video and she can tell you what she watched, but that doesn't make her an exorcist. No, it does not. And so that's what I want to answer.
Okay. Well, now I will say I have no opinion of the guy because I don't know anything about his history.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I do know. Now he did not. In other words, he didn't go in there he went in there because of what he was. He didn't go in there to pick a fight, especially with a bunch of people on Halloween that, 2/3 of them, this was the second ghost hunt they've been on in their life. It wasn't like, So anyway, moving on from that. Everybody,
and to answer your question, and let me tell you something. I would not have done that. I would not have done that as a clergy, as an exorcist, because I would then be responsible for every single person who's there. So if you open it up to the public, and then you begin to pray, you begin to do things to spiritually provoke. Well, what are you going to do if someone goes under oppression, and you are to blame? So not you, meaning you. I'm the clergyman. Right. You got to be responsible about this kind of stuff. And so for me, I would never, ever have allowed a public situation like that to occur, to where I go in and cause provocation to see what I get. Because if I did that, then someone could get hurt. And that's not, I don't agree with that. I completely disagree with that.
Fair enough. Okay, now everybody, what I kind of teased, damn, we're almost to the commercial break. What I kind of teased is, I guess you started about the first of this week. At least that's when I noticed it. But the bishop has been doing these Facebook polls, and Facebook has this poll option. Now, first of all, I will explain as we go through some of them that you're only allowed to give two options. And there are so many gray areas on a lot of these that a lot of them are not going to be accurate.
Right.
But some of them have been, I will say, thought-provoking. Some of them, as I pointed out before the show, was, I don't even know why the hell he asked them. But because to me, they have no bearing on society whatsoever. But I have enjoyed, and I've answered, unless you did some tonight, I have done every one except for one, and it's because I literally had no opinion whatsoever. And
okay.
But if I leaned one way or the other, so when we come back from the commercial break, that's what we're going to talk about, and I will have your celebrity announcement for Scarefest XII. We'll be right back with more Scarefest Radio. Do you feel lost in life? Do you seem to be stuck in emotions that are not yours? Is your home not the sanctuary it should be? Contact Spirit Mechanics, where they take a team approach to your metaphysical and spiritual problems. Spirit Mechanics specializes in aura cleansing, stone attunement, attachment removal, and house cleansings. Spirit Mechanics tailors their approach to your individual spiritual path and needs. Find them every month at Lexington, Kentucky's Mystical Fair, mysticalfairlex.com, or on Facebook by searching Spirit Mechanics, that's MECHANIX. Spirit Mechanics, for your spiritual health and well-being. Everyone is talking about CBD oil. Most of us know that CBD is a cannabis compound that has significant medical benefits, but does not make people high. Its benefits include pain relief, anti-seizure properties, anxiety relief, fights cancer, reduces the risk of diabetes, and it is even used as a sleep aid. Blue Leaf Naturals CBD and hemp products are full-spectrum hemp extract oils. They use only hemp grown in Kentucky, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses and helping you and your family stay healthy and well. Blue Leaf Naturals, created with care from seed to shelf. Visit their website at blueleafnaturals.com. Blue Leaf Naturals, a Kentucky proud company. And welcome back to Scarefest Radio. Don't forget to go to Blue Leaf Naturals and order your CBD oil using the code SFFREE. Scarefest free. SFFREE, and get free shipping. Our celebrity announcement for this year, coming back to Scarefest XII, Steve Gonsalves and Dave Tango. The Ghost Hunters themselves, and of course the new show coming out, Ghost Nation, which I know nothing about. I don't know the concept behind it. I don't know what they're doing, because I haven't spoken to the boys since the last Scarefest, I guess. But I think it's this fall, maybe even in September. I'm not sure. But so Steve and Dave are coming back. They are coming back to Scarefest, and we welcome them with open arms. Now the okay, I had my questions here open. Let's see. Where was one I was looking for? Here's an example, everybody. This is a moral, kind of, I guess you could say, moral dilemma. You're at an ATM and it accidentally spits out an extra $100 bill. Do you take the money or do you turn it into the bank? Now, I will confess, I said I will take the money. Because that was my gut instinct. Extra, now I'm not going to stand there and if it starts just blowing them out, I'm going to, because then you're on camera and they're going to catch your ass. But if if it just spits out an extra, sawbuck, well, but it's actually very evenly split. So it's not like I'm this moral, I'm not decrepit, because 45%, and this was one of your earlier questions, said they would take the money, and then 55% said turn it into the bank. And I know that's the right thing to do, James. I know it is. But now this is an interesting one, because we were talking before the show about the how unbalanced your followers are. And when I say unbalanced, I don't mean mentally. I mean both sides of the aisle.
Totally understand.
Do you believe Atlantis ever existed? Off the charts, yes. And that one, I would have thought that one would have been 50-50. I just figured more people thought it was just a poetic thing. Of course, now Rebecca Sams-Codner suggested that question. What is your opinion on Atlantis, Bishop?
I think there are a lot of cities that remain untouched, undiscovered. I think there's a lot. Look, the oceans themselves are massive, just massive, and we have not. I think what they did is 10%. We've only investigated 10% of it. This is massive. So I'm definitely open to that possibility of Atlantis, some type of civilization. I guess you could say that was Atlantis, but I don't know how advanced they were.
That's kind of where I fall on it. I do believe there was something with a name similar to that, and that's how they. And I think it was probably a great place. But a lot of my psychic friends now are starting to quote things that allegedly came out of Atlantis, and I'm like, And I'm like, wow. I said, you can't do that. You just can't.
No. Yeah, there was some. I had some psychic questions on here. Do you believe that psychics have a right to charge? Or let me just see. There was
there was two though. You actually had two. You had one about psychics. Well, actually, I don't remember psychics. I remember paranormal investigators.
Right.
You asked about that, whether they could, and I forgot the results on that. But then you also asked whether exorcists should charge.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm trying to find the what the results, because I have them listed on my little spreadsheet that I'm doing now. I'm putting it all together so I can know what I asked, because there's so many. It's over 80 now. So I'm trying to find. Yeah, there were some really interesting ones, especially about exorcists and should they charge, or even paranormal investigators, should they charge? Paranormal investigators, should they be charged? And 211 people voted for that. 48 said they had no issues with paranormal investigators charging, and 163 said, you better not do it. And the exorcist charging, there it is, 144 people answered, and 40 said, yeah, they should charge, and 104 said, no way. So it's interesting. That's very interesting.
Now, I agree with the majority in those cases. Now the reason is, and this is where I've always, as a paranormal, of course, I can't speak to being an exorcist, but when I go when someone invites me into their home, I feel like that puts me in a position where they're at my mercy. In other words, they're going to buy whatever, as a paranormal investigator, they're going to buy whatever bullshit I throw their way. And first of all, I can definitely, and I embrace this fully, I can be wrong. In other words, I can declare that yes, I believe your house is haunted, and it's come to find out there's a squirrel in the attic that was leaving, scratchy EVPs. The inverse can be true. I could completely miss something that is going on just because it wasn't active during the little 4-hour window that I was running around their house. And
That's
because none of that is proven, I don't like to take advantage, if you will. And honestly, the groups that I've seen advertised that do charge, I've not been impressed with their presentation, if you will. That's my personal opinion on that.
So there are a lot of paranormal investigators. They actually do charge. There are a lot, because I'm just not really,
I would not. I'll put it this way. I would say that the percentage that charge are much lower than the people that approve of it. But I have seen. Now it's different if you say, well, we got to have gas money. I understand you got to cover. It's a hobby. It's not. And there's damn few television contracts going around. But so I'm not saying you can't do something to cover your expenses, but when it comes to actually charging per hour or something like that, I mean, yeah, if you Google it, there are plenty of groups that do it. Now, how big of a part of the overall industry are they? It is a very small percentage, but they are out there, and they're vocal, is what bugs me about it.
Right. Well, what I'm about to post soon is something along the lines of, if you pay a psychic and they give you a reading and they tell you, maybe you say, what should I do about my job situation? And they tell you, well, this is what you should do, and you do it, and all hell breaks loose. Should that psychic be sued? That's going to be my next question that I'm going to be putting on Facebook.
It's a good question. Now, I will tell you as a pseudo psychic, how I feel about it. First, now some people say, well, psychics charge, why can't paranormal investigators? Because now this is the difference. You go to a psychic. They don't, under a reading type thing, they generally don't come to your house and hold you hostage. Now, when 2 weeks ago, now I dabble in tarot card reading.
Okay.
And, I pitch it as a fun thing to do. but I'm getting serious questions. And as you pointed out, life-altering questions. And so when I give advice on those, I remind them, you're taking advice from a $5 psychic. You're you know, I don't want, you know, let's take, you know, let's see where this goes. And this is, you know, how I feel about it. But at the same time, understand who you're talking to. And so I'll put it this way, my ass is covered. But I have spoken to psychics who have given just, it always made me nervous. One particular tarot card reader, his pitch line, you know, one of his pitch lines is, you know, is my husband cheating on me? Now, I'm happy that he has that much confidence in his abilities. And he is very gifted. But that's the type of, I warn people when they sit down. I tell them, if you ask me a question like that, I will not only tell you, no, he's not, I will give him an alibi. Because I can't deal with that. But that is a very good question.
Yeah, because look, what happens if someone does go to you, and let's say you're a psychic and they have a lot of respect for you, and you tell them yes, the spirits or spirit is telling me that he's cheating on you, and then this woman files for divorce, and she finds out later he never cheated. Is that doing the work of God, or is that doing the work of the devil?
I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to just say that I do feel, and this is how I tell a good psychic from a bad psychic, the ones that admit their frailties. Psychics can be wrong.
Sure.
They do not get information, you know, via fax. They, you know, it's images, it's pictures in their mind, little voices, and even on my investigations, the information that I get psychically on investigations, sometimes it's so vague that I just don't even want to bring it up. Even though after the fact, and I do a little more historic research, because I'm world famous for not doing crap research before I go into a place.
Okay.
That I find out, oh wow, that does make sense now. But at the same time, it was fuzzy enough that, you know, that I could have played it either way. And
so let me throw this one at you.
Sure.
All right, let me throw this one at you. If having the psychic ability is actually true, and there are people that are legitimately psychic, which I believe there are, but if there are legitimately psychic, then why didn't they get on television and say 9/11, there are people that's going to get on that plane and they're going to hijack that plane and they're going to crash right into that building? I'm telling you now, that's the person. That why wouldn't Spirit tell those psychics this person's name, that person's name? I mean, what, is Spirit not in business to help humanity?
Okay, James, I actually know the answer to that.
Excellent.
I believe, first of all, and now we had a big discussion about this, Mark James and myself. By the way, happy birthday, Mark James at Akashic Awareness. And the conversation in the process somehow turned to destiny and karma and all this stuff. But so that's kind of the direction we were going. And I said, I believe in the chaos of the universe. I do believe in an all-powerful God, but I also believe that he just pretty much turned us loose. And in other words, their argument was everything that's going to happen has already happened. I do not believe that.
Well, that's predestination.
Right. I do not believe that.
Yeah, then free will doesn't exist.
Yes, exactly. That was my argument. They see, but it was okay. It was tied into reincarnation. It's really complicated. In other words, the free will came up before you were planted in the womb. So yeah, it was deep. It was deep. But just like I believe in destiny, I also believe in the human condition's innate ability to completely miss it, to take the wrong turn. In other words, all this stuff that can interfere with what you are meant, what your plan on this earth was. So in the case of 9/11, that was something that had not happened yet. that was not a natural event. Now, a natural event, you know, like a volcano going off,
Okay.
that is often predicted. And that's
All
because
right.
that is something that is building up. It's a natural event. But if anything, think of all the pieces that had to come together for 9/11 to happen.
Yeah, but okay,
people-
okay, hold on. Let me
Sure.
time out. Let me do a timeout here. Naturally, anybody can say, well, Yellowstone is going to explode eventually. That's not a psychic. That's common sense. I mean, you don't have to be a psychic to know, yes, there's going to be an earthquake in California. Okay. There's going to be a tsunami probably when there's an earthquake. Okay. The Yellowstone is probably going to erupt one day. Okay, I'm not a psychic, but I can tell you those things are going to happen. It's just natural. So that, I would argue, see, this is the stuff that we did when I was in the seminary. And just for clarification, I really do believe people are truly gifted. And so when it comes to the psychic abilities, I'm not one of them. But I absolutely believe there are some very gifted psychics. So I want to say that first. But what I love and I miss is having a conversation with somebody and challenging them, not to be a jerk, but to try to say, you know what, I never thought of that. I never thought of that. Or just having an intellectual conversation and not attacking one another. And I guess that's why I want to do these questions on my Facebook page. It's not to attack. It's just to open up the dialogue so that other people can see your point of view. That's it. You know, sorry, I had to throw that in there.
No, but anyway,
Yeah.
my feelings about the reason psychics cannot predict the future accurately is because of the chaos of the universe. Too many things have to fall into line for an event to happen. That's why let's face it, if psychics could predict the future, the lottery winners would be one,
Lottery.
you know, right down the line. Man, but my opinion is, until those balls are jiggled around in the thing, that event has not happened and does not exist in time for them to even see it.
So what kind of psychic, then if that's the case, and if a psychic in your perspective can't necessarily tell the future regarding those instances, then what do you need to go to a psychic for? The past? You already know what happened.
But now I do believe, and now this is kind of what I do.
Okay.
I believe that God or whatever higher being they worship does give us, some of us, the ability to guide people in the direction that will give them the most favorable outcome. It is still all on them.
Yep.
And so in other words, we're amateur psychologists, if you will.
Okay.
But for the most part, now see, I don't believe that many psychics are gifted with, what's the word for when you can, fortune telling, for basically. In other words, the future.
Telling the future. Okay.
Yeah, you know, I believe that most psychics, their ability is closer to home. It's peering through the veil. You know, now I will tell you this. Now, I believe in spirit guides. I believe in angels. And I believe that 99% of the information is either withheld from me. In other words, they don't tell me they don't tell me the lottery numbers. The information I have is it's none of my damn business. It's
So what you're saying is that you're giving advice?
Yeah, really, it's a way of, but it's laying out. In my case, now other people do it differently, but it is giving them the information that Spirit gives them. Okay.
So in essence, then what you're saying is I'm psychic. Because if someone comes to me in spiritual direction and they talk to me and they say, you know, I'm having this issue, I always pray. And I'm always praying, God, give me the words, give me the wisdom so that I can help this individual that is putting my ego away, push my ego and come through me so that I can hear your
would
words.
say that you have made if you want to use the term, psychic connection.
Okay.
Okay. Because a spiritual, it's you know, thumbs and fingers. But so yeah, it really, if you pray about something, and I believe the word is discernment. In other words, you know,
That's right.
yeah, it's not that different. I guess is the way I would word it.
That's interesting. See, I never. Okay.
Because I believe all tarot cards are a way for the spirits, whoever you're working with, to guide your intuition. In other words, they don't give you the answers. They try to make your intuition They try to, in other words, there's a couple steps there. I'm guiding the person maybe, but they're guiding, but the other side is guiding me. In other words, they're saying, you know, so, you know.
And that's the same, it really is, that's the same concept then. And honestly, I love these conversations because, and I'm going to tell you, all of your listeners, your viewers out there, you're not going to find more of a liberal-minded person, clergy member than me, I don't think. I'm pretty darn liberal when it comes to psychics and people who use them. I just don't judge people. It's not my place to judge anybody. Again, I believe that there are people who legitimately have psychic abilities. But if what you're saying is true, then that spirit will guide you into saying, hey, look, this is what they should know. Then in that essence, if you're saying that, then clergy who are listening to God, who are listening to Holy Spirit, who are listening to Spirit, if you would call, we would say Holy Spirit, then we would be considered psychic.
Yeah, but I wouldn't advertise it, but yeah.
Come on. What's going on?
Okay, we need to get our last commercial break in. Everybody, you're watching Scarefest Radio.
Coyote Chris Sutton.
Shamanism.
Spiritual advisement.
Paranormal investigations.
Inspirational presentations.
Bringing light to the darkest places for over 20 years. Go to CoyoteChris.com to learn more. And don't forget, everybody, our newest sponsor, Akashic Awareness in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, a metaphysical healing and learning center unlike any other in Kentucky. And this month, we're pimping the Beacon of Light Festival. They're hosting the Beacon of Light Festival. Many people today are searching for those things that make them feel good, make them happy, and fill their soul with joy. People look externally, and those things are fun and good for us. But for joy, we must look internally too. The Beacon of Light Festival is one of the fun things to do in your search. So they're hosting this. Go to AkashicAwareness.com or BeaconOfLightFestival.com. Coming up next week, Saturday, June 22nd, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And if at all possible, I will be there. Not as a reader, but just as some guy wanting to find out about some of this weird healing stuff that they got roaming around the building. Okay, back to my guest, Bishop James Long. See, this is fun. But James, I think this is probably the most weird conversation we've ever had.
It's cool.
But I enjoyed it. But see, I'm different from a lot of people because I have an opinion on everything. But I always hedge my answers. If I don't know, I have an opinion. I have a belief.
Sure.
And my beliefs in the supernatural or paranormal are deeply rooted in what I learned in my Judeo-Christian upbringing. I have found, I guess you'd say, loopholes in what a lot of churches teach that, that actually fit into all this. Now, one that I saw here, reincarnation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was actually a little surprised. There it is. 65% believe in it and 35% do not. My experience in life, other than at these mystical fairs and stuff like that, when I'm just talking to paranormal investigators, I don't pick up a lot that they, that they believe in it because, theologically, a lot of churches do not teach it. A lot of people just don't believe. In other words, they just believe this is it. Whether they believe in afterlife or not, this is the life you got. So that was one that surprised me, was reincarnation, that a majority of your respondents did believe in reincarnation.
Or even, and the reincarnation thing is interesting because I've always been taught reincarnation doesn't exist. But I'm the type of person, I'm like you, I challenge. Why? Well, that's not an answer. I need to know why. I need to know from a theological perspective why. And then they say, well, it's just not going to happen because you're in heaven and this. And then I say, no, wait a minute, hold on. Then you have to explain to me how there are people who, like children, who do come back and who say, I was this person, and they have detailed information about the previous life that they say that they lived, that they were not coached according to their parents. Then you get into the whole argument, well, did the parents really teach them? Or maybe children who grow up, who start, and they are absolute geniuses on things, playing piano or doing things that it would take someone a lifetime to learn. It's just things like that. I have to scratch my head and say, now wait, now hold on. The one other thing that I was really interested in is, was Jesus married and had children? 129 people responded to that. 64 said yep, and 65 said no. That's right. Dead even. Yeah.
That's dead even. Now I voted no on that, and it's one of those that really needed a third. I've heard the arguments for it, but I just don't. I just don't have anything solid to base it on that he was. So I was one of the no votes on that.
Yeah, and there are historical writers that were not Christian in the first century that we have writings on that speaks about Yeshua, which is Jesus, the Nazarene, and they mention nothing about marriage. I mean, something like that would have been mentioned, especially as a rabbi, because that was actually not that was not the norm. That would not be the norm. And so I think that would have been mentioned if he was married. There just really isn't any validity to that argument, I don't think.
Now, here's one where I was in the minority by a long shot.
All right.
Would you rather be poor but giving, or be rich and selfish? And I'm sorry, people, I've been poor. I would much rather be rich and selfish. If given a choice, the whole vow of poverty thing is behind me now.
Yes, you gotta watch that karma.
It's not that I was in the minority, it's that I was so far in the minority. 86% would rather be poor. And I would not have assumed that many people, of course, maybe they want to make themselves feel better. I just really think that they didn't think that through, because there was no middle ground. I'd rather be middle class and give to the Lions Club.
Right.
No, right. Poor but giving. Poor has a definition, and if you're poor, the only thing you're giving is your time and energy, I guess.
But that is that's the one thing that's irreplaceable. Your time.
Right.
That's. But I tell you one thing, and I'll talk about this. One of the questions, because I was curious about what people thought, Mothman. Do people think that Mothman exists? Right. And 75 people, and that's split right down the middle. 75 people gave me an answer to it. 37 said yep. 38 said no. But I have a story about what I believe. I can't say it was anything else but Mothman. And I don't know a whole lot about Mothman, but as I've been reading more and more, I'm like, well, hell, that's exactly what I saw. And that's exactly what I saw. And it was at a cemetery, and I'll be talking about that at Scarefest.
Neat. My opinion, I was one of the people that believe in Mothman. The thing is, I don't know that I believe all of the stories, but enough stuff happened in that case, and now I'm still. There's been a lot of, and I've reported on. There's been a lot of sightings in Chicago, and it's one of those things. I don't know if it's an angel, a demon, or just some critter from another dimension that's here to watch. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's here, but I do believe that there. And I am one of those people. I don't really think it's a cryptid. I don't think it's a flesh and blood creature. I don't have any reason to believe that. Although now in Point Pleasant, my understanding is a lot of people do believe that they just got this Mothman thing that's hanging out in the woods. Yeah.
And by the way, for your because I put while we were doing the show, should psychics charge for their service? I just put that up there, and it's interesting. 45 people have voted, and 25 says yep, and 20 say no. So it's interesting. I didn't think that many people would say no. This is what I love about polls.
My answer, now this is one, and the way it's worded, I'd say yes, they should. Because now, this is where I went back to with the paranormal investigators. Now, if you call a psychic into your home to tell you whether or not it's haunted, then no, I really do not think they should charge.
Wait, stop. Hold on. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Now, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
I'm playing devil's advocate. You are asking somebody to get up out of their home They could be sitting there watching television, watching U of L or UK playing basketball or football, or just enjoying their little whatever they're playing or watching. And they could be, oh, this life is great. And they get a phone call and say, I need you to come over here right away. Okay, now you're asking someone to get up out of their home, to get away from their family, drive to the location wherever it is, your time, the gas. I mean, that's valuable.
Now, I said they could get gas money. I covered my ass on expenses.
What about your time? What about your time is valuable?
I see your point.
Right.
I am just saying this little voice in the back of my head tells me no. Because, once again, this goes back to the whole psychic thing, is that you're not providing a service. When you hire someone to fix your roof, when they leave, you've got a roof.
Yeah.
When you have a psychic come in, first of all, there's two things. I've been on a lot of cases, they've already had the psychic there. And, in other words, things didn't work out the way that it was supposed to. But you're not providing a service that is measurable.
You're going into some trouble here.
Maybe.
And I'll tell you why. Because then psychologists shouldn't charge, because there's nothing tangible that they give you.
But they're not coming to your house. Once again, you're making an appointment. You're going to their office. Now, if you go to a psychic fair and you sit down at a psychic table, if it's $1 a minute, pay $1 a minute. Whatever the hell they charge. That is my delineation.
So the psychiatrist shouldn't charge if they go to the customer's home?
I've never actually heard of a psychologist making house calls.
Okay.
But I'll put it this way. A psychologist is educated and at least has a diploma to show you they didn't buy on the internet.
Okay.
Now, I said it.
Ouch. I didn't. Don't send the hate emails to Bishop Long. I'm innocent of all charges.
So, I don't know. Okay. I don't think that. Now, I would not fault a psychic for doing it unless I just thought they were profiteering. I'm not, and even, now paranormal groups, it depends on how they handle it. If they just go in and record data and then turn it over to the people and say, this is what we caught, so it's not a matter of I condemn someone for doing those things. I'm just saying the little voice in the back of my head says, no, that's just not the best way to do it. That being said, that's why I'm poor and do $5 psychic readings. So,
okay.
I'm not the authority on this topic.
I tell you what, there's one question because I used to be a chaplain for the Louisville Metro Police Department. And this one question, I was really curious about what people would say. A police officer is involved in a high-speed chase. They're chasing someone who murdered an individual. The officer loses control of his vehicle and accidentally hits another car and unfortunately kills the occupant. Should the officer be thrown in prison or not charged? And what's interesting is 26 people have said thrown in prison. 92 people have said not charged. And that's a tough one. I mean, I don't know about that one. That's a tough one.
See, now, my opinion is, first of all, they're acting on behalf of the government. So I do not, I'm not saying there isn't, there isn't a civil case there. But no, as far as to me, the policeman is not breaking the law. They are fulfilling their duty. Words. So I'm on that, and I can't believe that many people have responded that they should be charged. Now, once again, civilly is different, but criminally,
even civilly, Wes, even civilly. I mean, just imagine that for a second. You worked all your life. You're starting to maybe wind down in retirement. You have saved and saved and saved. You're an officer. You're on a high speed chase.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying they could be civilly liable.
But okay,
that's all I'm saying.
Would you support a civil liability?
It's not a question whether when I support it. I believe that people have the right to try. Now I'll get into the you're in America, buddy. So civilly,
they get an attorney And then you're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your savings, all because you're an officer. You had an accident.
First of all,
if
the lawyers have half a brain, they're going to sue the police department and the government. They don't want that guy's $10-15 an hour. I mean, they're well, they make more, but still, nobody gets rich being a policeman in a squad car.
Yeah.
Okay. But government's got deep pockets because they got the rest of all of our money. Right. So, but yeah, if that happened to me, I'd be dead. So I couldn't sue. If that happened to someone in my family, unless there was a case of just gross negligence, like, this guy did not turn on his lights or whatever, blew through the red light, okay, maybe. But if it's just a matter of he lost control in a curve because he was chasing the murderer, no. I would be the guy that would cry about it and sue the county government. So, just so you know. But the thought of suing another person for something that was for fulfilling their duty, because, I mean, hey, take it down a notch. If the firemen come to your house and don't get it put out in time, do you sue the fire department because they didn't run? Right. They didn't bring 2 trucks. They only brought 1 truck.
That's fair. That's a good question.
Well, that's a rabbit hole that I just, as a society, I'd rather not see us drop to that level. We're out of time. We have blown through this and had a lot of fun, and I knew it would be because I could tell the way you were spitting these poll questions out that you were enjoying doing it. One last thing I do need to announce, everybody. I forgot. June 20th, horror trivia. There it is. Get the little banner over there. Mr. Brews Tap House, Lexington, Kentucky. That's 220 Rukio Way. I guess that's how you say it. I have no idea. But Mr. Brews Tap House, All American Burgers, but they're hosting horror trivia for the Scarefest coming up on the 20th, Thursday the 20th at 7 p.m. So we got that. Did want to remind everybody about that. You can find them on Facebook. It's like all over. James, thank you so much. And I remember at Scarefest, you'll actually be talking about demons and possessions and that's not all this frivolity that I drug him into tonight.
I love it though. I think people need to see a different side. I like to, if you don't mind, I'd like to throw in a little plug because it's very important. For 20 years, I have been helping the homeless and single moms. So I go to homeless camps, I pass out food and clothing, and single moms come to me who've gotten out of a really terrible relationship and they need immediate funds. They apply for government funding, but it takes sometimes up to a month for them to get help. And in the meantime, they're in trouble. So I've been doing this now for 20 years. I have a paranormal course online. You learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. You learn 4 courses, and they are in-depth. So it's on paranormalcourse.com, and 100% of the funds goes towards funding that ministry. I fund it personally. There is no other funding. There's no government funding. Everything I do is for funding that ministry. It's really important.
And is there a way that they can run that down? Do they just need to find you on Facebook, or do you have a website?
Yeah, paranormalcourse.com, and that's where they can sign up. Or they can just go to bishopjameslong, LONG.com, and they can make a direct donation there. We're very low on our donations. Well, I usually do between $600 and $800 a month on this ministry, so it's pretty heavy, but it's necessary. So I'm very, very passionate about that.
I'm making a little note here that when I post the archive of the show, I'll try to get those links up for you to help you out a little bit. Everybody, this has been Scarefest Radio. Enjoyed it a lot. Check back next week. We've always got something going on. Next week we're talking ITC, interdimensional EVPs and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, fair
Their
enough.
equipments. There it is. Anyway, we've got that coming up. See you next week.
Thank you.
Instrumental transdimensional communication.